Hello everyone. So today I want to share something briefly about the ENFJ, and this might apply to the ESFJ as well, because it does have to do with our inferior introverted thinking. And I may have talked about this in a tweet before, but this was just something I was thinking about while driving this morning, and I thought that I would share before I forgot, as it was also sort of inspired by our recent discussions from yesterday about the FI and FE sort of effective communication. I was reflecting on my life and how I've grown, and I realized that I used to say things about myself that weren't accurate. It was because it was the most accurate that I knew how to say. And I'm not trying to give the impression that ENFJs are fake, ENFJs are liars, because I've talked a lot about how, that's not the case. But I was really realizing how if I were to try and describe my process, or this is just how I work, or this is just how I am, that over time I've gotten to be a lot more accurate about how I am. And I used to say things about myself that I thought were true that was really nothing more than what others have always told me. So I guess the reason I'm saying this is that I've really realized that unhealthy or younger, or not, I don't even want to say the word unhealthy. It's like younger, less matured. Like if we were to look at the less matured version of an ENFJ, they're probably going to say things like, yeah, I just care what people think about me, I guess. Or, yeah, I guess I'm a little dramatic. Or, yeah, I just really do care about everybody more than myself. They're going to say things like that because that's what's been reflected back to them. That's the FE information that they've gotten. And it's going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on the messages that they heard. So if an ENFJ grew up with parents that were always saying you're being really dramatic, or perhaps an ENFJ grew up with parents that weren't saying that, the point is that FE, like as a function, like when your introverted thinking is like inferior, it takes a lot of digging to really declare what your truth is. And for so much of my life, I was declaring what I thought was my truth, that was really what other people were saying was my truth, that I had gathered over time. Over time, people have found me passionate. People have found me charismatic. Over time, people have found me creative. So all of this that people have said about me is all been sort of like filtered through, and then my baby inferior TI would say, yeah, I guess that's true. If everybody's saying that about me, I guess that's true. But for example, I think I mentioned this in another video, but I had to do an exercise where I was writing down like my favorite things about myself, or like my favorite qualities about myself. And I realized that two of my favorite qualities about myself, one of which is that I'm wise, and the other of which is that I am strong-willed. And those are not the traits that I was always told that I was. Those were the traits that I was and always have been, despite what others have said, even if nobody noticed, even if nobody could tell. So, I'm more than just nice. I'm more than just friendly. I'm more than just creative. But when ENFJs, I guess if you're watching this and you're an ENFJ, my advice to you is really think about the words you are telling yourself about yourself, and just make sure that you're verifying, is that true? ask yourself where that came from. And is that something you enjoy? You can also ask yourself, do I like being that thing? Is that thing really me? Like, just verify it for a second, because our identity is hard to grasp. This is true for all EJs, but really getting at what is my identity, who am I, is really hard, because you're gonna have to filter through everything that everybody has said about you. You could say, yeah, I don't like conflict, because that's what you've been told that other people have said about you, or that just seemed like, yeah, makes sense. When really the answer is probably, oh, I'm afraid that if I communicate my truth to people that they will leave me. You see what I mean? I'm not trying to even say that ENFJs are lying and that you shouldn't trust them. If you are close to an ENFJ and they begin to describe how they are to you, I would just suggest listening with a discerning ear, and perhaps if something seems off, being like, are you sure that's true? Because sometimes I will exaggerate things, like to my loved ones. I will say something like, oh, I'm really afraid about, I don't know what's going to happen. Or like, I will take an opportunity and I'm stepping into the unknown. And I might say, oh my goodness, I'm so afraid. And then my INFJ girlfriend, I believe, was like, you don't seem afraid. You seem like ready for this. And I had to think like, yeah, I am ready for this. I just was so used to saying I'm afraid because my FE concluded that I should be afraid based on what people have told me, based on their reactions, based on what made sense to FE. So I guess that's just another example. But like, if an ENFJ is freaking out to you about something, maybe they were broken up with, maybe they're saying, oh, I'm so sad, but you can sense that they're like relieved. I think just sort of reflecting back, is that so? Or is that true? I think would be really helpful. And if you could say it in a way that is not like, oh, I know you better than you know yourself, then that would go over well. But if you are stomping on the ENFJ's feelings, telling them they're wrong and not listening to them, it's not going to go well. So don't try that, because what they're saying does have a glimmer of truth in it. It's the truthiest truth that we know how to say at that moment. And we aren't afraid of, we don't let our lack of understanding of the truth keep us from expressing our feeling at that moment. And so if we have a feeling at that moment, we're going to try our best to express it, even if it's not 100% accurate. So we are saying the truthiest truth that we know how to say at the time. So keep that in mind, and go easy on us, I guess. This is just something I've realized, is that especially younger ENFJs, just, yeah, watch the words that you are saying about yourself to yourself and also out loud, because they may not be true. Thank you for watching. I do offer mentorship if you are interested in advice like this, sort of applied to your type, and a bunch of other fun links below. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.